The Battle of Verdun lasted from February 21st, 1916 until December 19th of the same year, causing over an estimated 700,000 casualties. The Germans believed that England would collapse as soon as their most important ally, France, was defeated. Germany targeted Verdun because it was so important to the French that they would sacrifice their entire army to defend it. The Germans called this strategy Weissbluten. Verdun was important because it was an important stronghold in the eastern border, built after the French-Prussian War of 1870, and it was the northern gate to the Champagne Plain, and therefore Paris. Germany planned to achieve this feat through total secrecy and to crush the French front line with an immense artillery bombardment utilizing 1,200 German guns. Verdun was a garrison town, surrounded by a double ring of fortresses and fortifications, situated among nearly impenetrable hills. The French did not think that the Germans would attack Verdun, saying, "It's not as important a target." Had it not been for the terrible weather circumstances that pushed the German attack back from the 11th of February to the 21st, they would have not been able to properly place the two French divisions that had previously been hastily added. The start of the attack occurred on the 21st of February, with 9 hours of the heaviest bombing that had ever taken place in war. Throughout the next months, neither party achieved any real success, losing many men and resources, turning the landscape into a quagmire full of shell holes. At the end, there was no longer one front line, and the troops on both sides were forced to survive under horrible circumstances, with shortages of water, munitions, and food. Finally, on December 19, 1916, the German command concluded that they had suffered defeat at Verdun after being pushed back to their original position on the 11th of February. The First Battle of the Marne was a much shorter battle that took place between the 5th and 12th of September 1914, resulting in an Allied victory over the German army. The German army had marched through Belgium and northeastern France, making their way steadily towards Paris. The Allied troops expected Paris to fall and withdrew, leaving the French Minister of War to lead a counteroffensive. This counteroffensive is known as the First Battle of the Marne. The strategy used in this battle is standard trench warfare. Poison gas and tanks had not been invented yet, so machine guns and artillery were the main forces used in this battle. As far as casualties, there were 2,603,000 French and British troops injured, 81,700 of which died. The Germans suffered 220,000 casualties. The French won this battle. The French Minister of War deemed it a success. However, its only real success was to establish the Western Front, which moved very little through the whole war. It ended German hopes of a quick victory. After the First Battle of the Marne, tanks were invented. Although they gave the troops an added advantage, battlefields and trenches were not also mobile techniques. French Army Commander-in-Chief Joseph Joffre declared this battle a success. However, in the grand scheme of the war, it was simply a morale booster for the Allied troops. It was not an official victory, it was officially a stalemate. The Battle of Somme lasted from July of 1916 until November of the same year. This was a battle that epitomized the futility of trench warfare. The battle occurred because the French were suffering from several months of continuous losses. These losses then led the French allies to try to help the French by relieving them from the fighting of the previous months. The Allies attacked Germany north of Verdun, which required the Germans to move men away from Verdun, which relieved the French. The battle started with a week-long onslaught ordered by General Haig against German lines. The British, attacking the north side of the Somme, were trying to destroy German trenches and break down the barbed wire surrounding them. The French were attacking from the south of the Somme River. Even though the British fired over 1 million shells, the attack failed. The Germans were protected by underground fortifications. The long attack also churned up the ground, slowing Britain's attack. The Germans had created underground hideouts so deep that when the attack happened, the Germans retreated to the safe depths of their trenches. The bombardment of artillery alarmed the Germans and warned them of a foredooming attack, allowing them time to prepare their machine guns. The Germans quickly mounted their guns as British soldiers started walking towards them in a slow, rigid formation. The Germans unloaded, killing over 40,000 British troops of the 100,000 who entered on the 1st of July, 1916. It was the single worst day in deaths and casualties in British military history. While the state of the war was disastrous for the French, British allies, General Haig persisted with his attack several more times. There are many small victories, but the British could never successfully follow up. These attacks were the first times in which tanks were used. The war ended when General Haig ordered another attack on the German position at the Somme on November 13, 1916. The British successfully captured a fortress at Beaumont Hamel. However, because of the heavy snow, General Haig had to abandon the fortress. With the winter weather wearing down, Haig ended the Somme defense. By the end of the war, the British suffered more than 420,000 casualties. The French lost nearly 200,000 soldiers, and the Germans lost an estimated 500,000 soldiers. In the end, the war caused more than 1 million deaths with only 12 kilometers in land gained. This war shows how having advanced technology and mediocre technique is not an effective way to fight a war. This way of fighting leads to excessive amounts of casualties and very few benefits.